Alright, we're live. Okie dokie, okie dokie, okie dokie, oakley dokily. Oakley dokily. I must say, what a brilliant speech you gave. Just a friend who could help you save your men. Felt like senses not to be messed with. You want to be dull, you'll need the blessing of a certain God. Divine intervention, someone who's not afraid to send a message.
Wouldn't you like
All
a
right.
taste of the power? Wouldn't you like to use more than words? Deep in the night, the fight lasts for hours.
So,
you can be hurt, or you can be turned.
we're back. We're back. And I think that we're going to start our day or our stream. We're going to start our stream with a bit more of the book. Look at this guy. I know, look at this guy. Look at me doing my things. Look at me doing my things. When you take on a love, wouldn't you like a taste of the power? 100 Steam games that started life during GMTK Game Jam. Is this the GMTK? Oh, this is probably the ones that have already been made, and now he's probably talking about like using this as like a way to advertise the current game jam that he's about to be running, because I think it's less than a month out from starting now. So how you doing, Mr. Fake from State Farm? Honestly, raining sounds for sleeping. I'm gonna go back to that same video I was on. Freaking, it says no ads. It says no ads. This is what you're getting, guys. This is content. This is content, and you gotta deal with it. Actually was civilized today by getting a haircut. Must be nice having enough hair to go out and get a haircut. Anyways, but nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. Just trying to rub it in my follicles. Nord 3 that hasn't full given up. Hang on to it. Hang on to it. I decided long ago. Decided long ago that it wasn't worth trying to fight it. Wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth trying to fight it. I saw the bald spot on the top of my head slowly starting to go outwards, and I said, fuck that shit. I'm not waiting. And I shaved it all off. And let me tell you, I had a bald head. Don't like cutting your own hair, so when you pay, you might as well make them fade it. I mean, that's fair. If you're gonna like get a haircut, you may as well have it styled a little bit. I don't know. For me, like, maybe I do a reverse fade. Maybe that's how I truly keep the top male pattern baldness really hidden. Maybe I do a reverse fade, where I start from the top and it's bald, and then it's a reverse fade on the way down. So it's just longer the farther down you go. Go against the societal norms, you know. Just have the monk cut now. The Oblivion monk cut. There it is, baby. There it is. That's the fade right there. That's the fade that I'm looking for. That's the fade that I can do for sure. Honeybee. Honeybee. Hear that? Hear that? Viscous Honeybee. You like the peak on that P that I threw out there? Anyways. Alright. We're gonna continue reading this for a little bit. Once we get through this chapter, I am going to work on a couple other things in relation. I need to add to my list a little bit things that I need to get done, and that I need to start working through some of those things. I need to kind of prioritize them and then start working through them, because there's some other things that I need to do in relation to game dev stuff. More specifically, I just need to start getting familiar with some of the tools I'm going to be using to track things, and so you're going to be seeing me do a lot of, like, I think what I'm going to start with is, like, Jira stuff. I'm going to be getting familiar with a lot of Jira tools and certification-related things around Jira, which are all free online for people to use, so I'm just going to essentially go through them live. It's going to be very boring, and that's kind of, like, at this point, I'm not streaming for the purposes of trying to realistically entertain people here. Like, at this point, I'm just kind of streaming for the purposes of trying to hold myself accountable to actually getting shit done. Streaming is a good way as, like, a sounding board. It's a good rubber duck, so to speak. I'm bored, so entertain me. You have endless, only one ad per however long YouTube decides I can go without an ad. Rain sounds. This is wonderful. This is all you need. It's all you need. Anyways, okay. We last left off on anthropology. Anthropology is the most humanistic of the sciences and the most scientific of humanities. Office ambient room sound is crazy work. Yeah. I'm right there with you, Vemley. It's good. It's good. I'm going to be literally just listening to this as I continue to read through The Art of Game Design. So, if you want to settle on in, you're more than welcome to. Good to have you with us. Anthropology is another major branch of study about human beings and what they think and do. It takes a much more holistic approach than psychology, looking at everything about people, including their physical, mental, and cultural aspects. It's very concerned with studying the similarities and differences between the various peoples of the world, not just today, but throughout history. Of particular interest here to game designers is the approach of cultural anthropology, which is the study of living people's ways of life, mostly through fieldwork. Cultural anthropologists live with their subjects of study and try to immerse themselves completely in the world of people that they are trying to learn about. They strive for objective observation of culture and practices, but at the same time, they engage in introspection and take great pains to put themselves in the place of their subjects. This helps the anthropologist better imagine what it feels like to be their subjects. We can learn a number of important things about human nature from the work of anthropologists, but much more important, by taking a cultural anthropologist approach to our players, interviewing them, learning everything we can about them, and putting ourselves in their place. We can gain insights that would not have been possible from a more objective point of view. Design. The third field that has made important study of human experience is, not surprisingly, the field of design. We'll be able to learn useful things from almost every kind of designer: musicians, architects, authors, filmmakers, industrial designers, web designers, choreographers, visual designers, and many, many more. The incredible variety of design rules of thumb that comes from these different disciplines do an excellent job of illustrating useful principles about human experience. But unfortunately, these principles can often be hard for us to use. Unlike scientists, designers seldom publish papers about their discoveries. The very best designers in various fields often know little about the workings of other fields of design. The musician may know a lot about rhythm, but probably has given little thought to how the principles of rhythm might apply to something non-musical, such as a novel or a stage play, or even though they may have meaningful practical application there, since they are ultimately rooted in the same place, the human mind. So, to use principles from other areas of design, we will need to cast a wide net. Anyone who creates something that people are meant to experience and enjoy has something to teach us, and so we will pull rules and examples from designers of every stripe, being as xenophilic as possible. Ideally, we would find ways to connect all of the varied principles or designs to each other through the common ground of psychology and anthropology, since ultimately, all design principles are rooted in these. In some small ways, we will do that in this book. Perhaps one day these three fields will find a way to unify all of their principles. For now, we will need to be content with building a few bridges here and there. This is no small accomplishment since these are three fields that seldom have much cross-pollination. Further, some of the bridges will prove to be surprisingly useful. The task before us, game design, is so difficult that we cannot afford to be snobbish about where we get our knowledge. None of these approaches can solve all of our problems, so we will mix and match them, trying to use them appropriately, like we might use tools from a toolbox. We must be both open-minded and practical. Good ideas can come from anywhere, but they are only good for us if they help us create better experiences. Introspection. Powers, perils, and practice. We've discussed some of the places to find useful tools for mastering human experience. Let's now focus on one tool that has been used by all three disciplines: introspection. This is the seemingly simple act of examining your own thoughts and feelings, that is, your own experiences. While it is true that you can never truly know the experience of another, you certainly can know your own. In one sense, it's all you can know. But deeply listening to your own self, that is, observing, evaluating, and describing your own experiences, you can make rapid, decisive judgments about what is and is not working in your game, and why it is or is not working. But wait, you might say, is introspection really such a good idea? If it isn't good enough for the scientists, why is it good enough for us? And this is a fair question. There are two main perils associated with using introspection. Peril 1. Introspection can lead to false conclusions about reality. This is the scientists' main reason to reject introspection as a valid method of inquiry. Many pseudoscientists over the years have come up with crackpot theories based mainly on introspection. This happens so often because what seems to be true in our personal experience is not necessarily really true. Socrates, for example, noted that when we learn something new, it often feels like we knew it all along, and that, in learning it, it feels as if we were just reminded of something we already knew, but had forgotten. This is an interesting observation, and most people can remember a learning experience that felt this way. But Socrates then goes too far and forms an elaborate argument that since learning can feel like recollection, we must then be reincarnated souls who are just now remembering what we learned in past lives. This is the problem with drawing conclusions about reality based on introspection. Just because something feels true, it doesn't mean it is true. People very easily fall into the trap of building up structures of questionable logic to back up something that feels like it must be true. Scientists learn to be disciplined about avoiding this trap. Introspection certainly has its place in science. It allows one to examine a problem from points of view that mere logic won't allow. Good scientists use introspection all the time, but they don't draw scientific conclusions from it. Fortunately for us, game design is not a science. While, quote, objective truth about reality, unquote, is interesting and sometimes useful to us, we primarily care about what feels like it is true. Aristotle gives us another classical example that illustrates this perfectly. He wrote a number of works on a variety of topics such as logic, physics, natural history, and philosophy. He's famous for the depth of his personal introspection, and when we examine his works, we find something interesting. His ideas about physics and natural history are largely discredited today. Why? Because he relied too much on what felt true and not enough on controlled experiments. His introspection led him to all kinds of conclusions we now know to be false, such as heavier objects fall faster than light ones, the seat of consciousness is in the heart, life arises by spontaneous generation, and many others. So why do we remember him as a genius and not as a crackpot? Because his other works about metaphysics, drama, ethics, and the mind are still useful today. In these areas where what feels true matters more than what is objectively provably true, most of his conclusions, reached through deep introspection, stand up to scrutiny thousands of years later. The lesson here is simple. When dealing with the human heart and mind, and trying to understand experience and what things feel like, introspection is an incredibly powerful and trustworthy tool. As game designers, we don't need to worry much about this first peril. We care more about how things feel and less about what is really true. Because of this, we can often confidently trust our feelings and instincts when making conclusions about the quality of an experience. Peril number 2. What is true of my experiences may not be true for others. This second danger of introspection is one we must take seriously. With the first peril, we got a get-out-of-jail-free card because we're designers, not scientists. But we can't get away from this one so easily. This peril is the peril of subjectivity, and a place where many designers fall into a trap. I like playing this game, therefore it must be good. And sometimes, this is right. But other times, if the audience has tastes that differ from your own, it's very, very wrong. Some designers take extreme positions on ranging from, I will only design for people like me because it's the only way I can be sure my game is good, to introspection and subjective opinions can't be trusted, only playtesting can be trusted. Each of these is a safe position, but also has its limits and problems. Quote, I only design for people like me has the following problems. Game designers tend to have unusual tastes. There may not be enough people like you out there to make your game a worthwhile investment. You won't be designing or developing alone. If different team members have different ideas about what is best, they can be hard to resolve. And there are many kinds of games and audiences that will be completely off limits to you. Personal opinions can't be trusted has these problems. You can't leave every decision to playtesting, especially early in the process when there's no game yet to playtest. At this point, someone has to exert a personal opinion about what is good and bad. Before a game is completely finished, playtesters may reject an unusual idea. They sometimes need to see it completed before they can really appreciate it. If you don't trust your own feelings about what is good and bad, you may, at the advice of your playtesters, throw out an ugly duckling that could have grown up to be a beautiful swan. Playtesting can only happen occasionally. Important game design decisions must be made on a daily basis. Which I can actually speak to. I wish that I had actually kept a tally of the amount of actual decisions that we made when we were making odd contents. Because it's a very small game. Like, you can play through the entire thing in like 30 minutes. At most. And I think that's being generous. You can play through the entire thing in about 30 minutes. And I kid you not, we probably made, in like the pre-production process, that first like 2.5 weeks that we were kind of trying to figure out exactly what our game actually was, we were realistically making probably 40 to 50 decisions over the course of like that period of time. And we probably could have made more. And again, this is a very, very small game. Like, and this is like 40 to 50 decisions that we all have to collectively agree upon and ask questions about to make sure that the game that we are all envisioning is the same game that we are actively developing. Because if we don't answer those questions, then we're not going to have a cohesive vision, and people are going to be developing two different projects. So, you're new here, what's up? What's up, Knife Boy on YouTube? Welcome on in, glad to have you with us. I'm glad you found the stream as well, and I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. A lot of this stuff is going to be... A lot of this is just going to be me kind of like diving into game development related things. I'm looking to go down the track of being a producer. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to be diving into is probably going to be pretty boring and not even necessarily related to design. This book in particular, the reason I'm reading this one is because this book is so very, very, like, it covers so many different ways to look at design that even if you are not going to work as a designer, like there's game designers, there's game developers, there's producers, there's animators, there's tons of different categories of different work that you can do in the game development field. I want to be working as a producer, which is honestly not really that much in the realm of like creative work, but this book will help me understand and contextualize a lot of the decisions that the designers that I will probably be working with will be making, which will then allow me to better prioritize and effectively streamline the work that needs to get done so that we can more effectively execute on the project that we want to do and can make cuts when needed and be able to make those cuts as confidently as possible with sometimes incomplete information. Assuming you're a developer, what have I worked on? I've only done one project so far. It's a small game called Odd Contents. We're actually going to be posting it onto itch.io here within the next several weeks. We've worked for, this will be week, I think, technically week 12 for us, but realistically it's more like week 10. If you're kind of considering like the forming of the group, actually working on the project, getting it out. Realistically about 10 weeks or so. And that was a very, very intense, like, I was so beat. I was exhausted by the end of that. I can show you guys some of that work here in a little bit, but I'm going to finish the chapter on this first. Aspiring to work on a project so this has value to you. Interesting parallel. The game is for people you know well. So your last segment had you reflecting on how well you actually know them. Yeah. But yeah, I can definitely go ahead and I'll when we actually have the game like up on itch, I will definitely go ahead and provide links to people, or I'll put the link in the Discord. I'll probably post it on stream as well when I'm streaming. It's just to give people an idea of what it actually is. It is a 2D top-down, narrative-driven, cozy horror RPG. It's a mouthful of words that give you a very, very specific idea of what the game actually is. Yeah, I'll definitely go ahead and share it once we actually have the game like ready to go. But having like being able to answer these questions is like for a long time I didn't really understand what pre-production actually was. Pre-production is essentially ensuring that you have as many of those questions answered as possible. Because if you say I'm making a shooter and you have 10 people working on a shooter, but you don't determine what type of, is this going to be a third-person shooter? Is this going to be a shooter that is like a roguelike type shooter? Is it going to be like a linear campaign type shooter? Is it going to be an open world element type? Like, there's so many different questions of like, and these are very broad stroke things, but just to illustrate an example, like there are so many small questions that need to be answered to be able to make sure that what you are developing is the same thing. If you don't, you will end up with a lot of contrast and conflict between what's being developed, and that will cause issues in the production pipeline. And you're going to have to make cuts if that happens that will leave some people feeling very, very upset. Because you guys didn't do a good enough job in the pre-production process establishing what the fuck you're actually making. And then other people are left feeling like they just got screwed out of all this work that they put into something that is not what's actually being developed. You were interested in getting into game development stuff? You're unsure if you have the imagination necessary to make something that you believe will live up to your expectations? I don't think you have to... I firmly disagree with the premise that you have to have a super active imagination to make yourself something that's, like, really, really good. For instance, Mecha Chameleon. That game is literally just, like, a variation of Prop Hunt. There's nothing super revolutionary about that game, and it has sold incredibly well. You do not have to have a crazy good imagination to be able to make something that is capable of being successful. And I think there's a lot of, like, things like that. Like, the whole friend slop genre that has kind of emerged since Among Us, like, came out, and the games that have done well surrounding that, like Lethal Company and Peak, Mecha Chameleon, like, all of those games are just, like, they're all taking well-established concepts and just putting their own variation or twist on it. And all of them are very successful. Doesn't mean that what you make is going to be successful, but it just goes to show you don't have to have a crazy imagination for something to be very, very good. And for people to love. So, anyways, I'm going to continue reading. Alright. The way out of this peril, without resorting to such limiting extremes, is, again, to listen. Introspection for game design is a process of not just listening to yourself, but also of listening to others. By observing your own experiences, and then observing others, and trying to put yourself in their place, you start to develop a picture of how your experiences differ from theirs. Once you have a clear picture of these differences, you can, like a cultural anthropologist, start to put yourself in the place of your audience and make predictions about what experiences they will and will not enjoy. It's a delicate art that must be practiced, and with practice, your skill at it will improve. Dissect your feelings. It's not such a simple thing to know your feelings. It's not enough for a designer to simply have a general sense about whether they like something or not. You must be able to clearly state what you like, what you don't like, and why. A friend of mine in college was notoriously bad at this. We would frequently drive each other crazy with conversations like, "What did you eat at the cafeteria today?" "Pizza. It was bad." "Bad? What was bad about it?" "He was just bad." "Do you mean it was too cold, too hard, too soggy, too bitter, too much sauce, not enough sauce, too cheesy? What was bad about it?" "I don't know. It was just bad." He was simply unable to clearly dissect his experiences. In the case of the pizza, he knew he didn't like it, but was unable to, or didn't bother to, analyze the experience to the point where he could make useful suggestions about how the pizza might improve. There's actually a really interesting, one of the things that we talked about in my game design course that I went through was signal versus noise. The base premise of it being, when you are doing testing and trying to get feedback, you need to have a very clear idea when you go into like a playtest what your goal is with the playtest. You want to have very specific questions that you're trying to answer, and different playtests can have different questions that you're trying to answer. And to get truly like unbiased feedback is a very, very particular process that you, and I shouldn't say unbiased, but untainted feedback. Because when you are playing something with someone, or when you're essentially talking with someone, if I were to say, "Hey guys, I want you to playtest my game," it's still in development. The moment I say it's still in development, that immediately creates expectations for you for what the game is going to be like. And the whole point of a playtest is to have as few to zero expectations as possible. That way you can get a truly unfiltered experience and reactions from people based on that unfiltered experience, with no expectations and nothing that is going to give the player any semblance of this game is going to be like this, or you're going to experience the game like this. Like, an example would be if someone were to play your game and they couldn't figure out how to move around in it, and you said, oh, just use like WASD to move around in it, you have screwed up that playtest. If the player can't figure out how to move around in the game, that is a signal that you need to have something in your game that tells them they need to know how to move around, or how they need to move around, how they can go about moving around. Like, those are the types of things that, like, when you're playtesting, you need to be sure that you are presenting the information in as sterile a way as possible to make sure that whatever feedback you're getting can be utilized in the future. And then the whole signal versus noise thing would be, if you were to have playtesting. Also, Knifeboy, I am reading The Art of Game Design, a book of lenses. This has come at very, very high recommendations from multiple people who have been working in the industry for an extended period of time that I know. I would highly recommend if you want to get started in it. It's a bit of a chunky book, but if you want to start to learn about what game design entails, this is a good place to start. But signal versus noise. If you were to have people playtesting Elden Ring, for example, if the playtest feedback that you were getting is that the game is too hard, that is noise, not signal. The design intent of Elden Ring is that the game is meant to be hard. So if they were to take that feedback and apply it and make the game easier, that would be going against the actual intent of the designers that put everything together for that game. That is an example of noise versus signal. You don't want to you want to learn how to filter out noise, and that is something that is at least partially determined heavily during the pre-production period, because you're able to determine what specific ways and things you want your game to communicate to the player. You want a specific feeling to be experienced when someone is playing your game. And if the feedback that you're getting runs in contrast to the specific feeling that you are trying to go for, that might just mean that the person who happens to be playing your game and testing it in some capacity, it's just a game that they're not really a demographic it's targeting, and that's okay. But being able to distinguish whether or not it is signal, something that you should actually take into account and make adjustments to systems based on that feedback, or noise, something that runs directly contrary or in contrast in some capacity to what the intent of your experience is, that's kind of like a skill that I'm learning to develop, and I think is important for anyone who's going into game dev to learn how to develop. Anyways. Alright. He was simply unable to clearly dissect his experiences. In the case of pizza, he knew he didn't like it, but was unable to, or didn't bother to, analyze the experience to the point where he could make useful suggestions about how the pizza might improve. This kind of experience dissection is the main goal of your introspection. It is something designers must do. When you play a game, you must be able to analyze how it made you feel, what it made you think of, and what it made you do. You must be able to state this analysis clearly. You must put words to it, for feelings are abstract, but words are concrete, and you will need this concreteness to describe to others the experiences you want your game to produce. You need to do this kind of analysis not only when designing and playing your own games, but also when playing games other people have created. In fact, you should be able to analyze any experience you might have. The more you analyze your own experiences, the more clearly you will be able to think about the kinds of experiences your games should create. I'm just gonna stop freaking out over my shoulder. Defeating Heisenberg. Heisenberg! Jesse! Jesse, we gotta cook. What a line that was. Indeed. But there's still a greater challenge of introspection. How can we observe our own experiences without tainting them? Since the act of observation itself is an experience. We face this problem quite often. Try to observe what your fingers are doing as you type at a computer keyboard, and you'll find yourself typing slowly and making many errors, if you can still type at all. Try to observe yourself enjoying a movie or a game, and the enjoyment can quickly fade away. Some call this paralysis by analysis, and others refer to it as the Heisenberg principle. This principle, in reference to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle from quantum mechanics, points out that the motion of a particle cannot be observed without disturbing the motion of that particle. Similarly, the nature of an experience cannot be observed without disturbing the nature of that experience. This makes introspection sound hopeless. While it is a challenging problem, there are ways around it that are quite effective, though some take practice. Most of us are not in the habit of openly discussing the nature of our thought processes, so some of the following is going to sound a little strange. Quite applicable to more than game development? Oh, 100%. One thing that I've actually, there's a YouTube channel that I've been following kind of on and off for the past, several years now. Maybe 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's actually probably been 4 or 5 years. Healthy Gamer GG. Dr. K. I really like the content that they do there. It's really, really good. A lot of that content has really kind of helped me gain a better understanding of my own mental space and how my mind operates. And while there's definitely still a lot of room for improvement and work, and I would probably benefit greatly from actually having a coach to work with, or just getting in touch with an actual psychologist. My ability to recognize the way that my mind tries to trick me into doing things has increased a lot over the past several years as I've stayed dialed into that content. And I think that has helped me to start to make a lot of improvements in my life in ways that feel very natural now, but felt so wildly out of reach prior to me starting to learn more about myself. It's really good content. So, yeah, it's good. Analyze memories. One good thing about experiences is that we remember them. Analyzing an experience while it is happening can be hard, because the part of your mind that your mind used to analyze is normally focused on the experience itself. Analyzing your memory of an experience is much easier. Memory is imperfect, but analyzing a memory is better than nothing. Of course, the more you remember, the better, so working either with memories of powerful experiences, these often make the best inspiration anyway, or with fresh memories is best. If you have the mental discipline, it can also be very useful to engage in an experience, such as playing a game, with the intention of not analyzing it while you play, but with the intention of analyzing the memory of it immediately after. Just having this intention can help you remember more details of the experience without interfering with the experience itself. This does not require you to remember that you are going to analyze it without letting that thought interfere with the experience. Tricky. 2 passes. A method that builds on analyzing memories is to run through your experiences twice. The first time, don't stop to analyze anything. Just have the experience. Then, go back and do it again. This time, analyzing everything. Maybe even pausing to take notes. You have the untainted experience fresh in your mind, and the second run-through lets you relive it, but gives you a chance to stop and think, considering how it felt and why. Sneak glances. It is possible to observe your experience without spoiling, or Is it possible to observe your experience without spoiling it? It is, but it takes some practice. It sounds strange to say this, but if you sneak quick glances at your experience while it's happening, you can often observe it quite well without degrading or interrupting it significantly. It's the kind of trying to get a good look at a stranger in a public place. Or it's kind of like trying to get a good look at a stranger in a public place. Take a few short glances at them and they won't notice you're observing them. But look too long and you will catch their attention, and they will notice you staring. Fortunately, you can learn a lot about an experience with a few short mental glances. Again, this takes some mental discipline, or you will get carried away with analysis. If you can make these mental glances habitual, just doing them all the time without thinking about it, they will interrupt things even less. Most people find what really interrupts their train of thought, or train of experience, is interior mental dialogue. Holy shit, I'm so prone to that. I am so wildly prone to internal mental dialogue. And honestly, it's not even that internal anymore, and that's just because of how long I've been, like, on and off streaming. Oh my gosh, dude. Freaking bots, dude. I don't think I actually have the ability to... Oh, can I? Can I do that from here? We'll see. No, I can't actually do it from here. Oh well, I'm not gonna worry about it. The bot message will remain. With how long I've been streaming though, like I've been streaming on and off since 2017, and that's right, that's right. Stick 'em up. Stick 'em up there, Stinky. A big part of the reason why I actually continue to stream is just because, like right now, like I'm not doing streaming for the purposes of entertainment. Like I know I'm not going to be getting any I'm not really going to be getting much in the way of like followers or subscribers, and that's totally okay with me because I'm not doing this for the purposes of followers or subscribers. I'm literally just doing this as a way to hold myself accountable to doing the things that I say I want to do, and as a soundboard for me to be able to just speak my mind and speak my unfiltered thoughts as they come into my head, because allowing myself to do that and using the stream as a way to kind of be that outlet, I've found to be very, very helpful for me in understanding my own thought processes better.
Damn droid.
Alright, when you start asking and answering too many questions in your head, your experience is doomed. A quick glance is more like exciting enough? Yes. Then you immediately stop analyzing and get back to the experience until the next glance. Observe silently. Ideally, though, you want to observe what's happening to you while it's happening, not just through a few quick glances, but through continuous observation. You want it to be as if you were sitting outside yourself, watching yourself, except that you see more than a normal observer. You can hear all of your thoughts and feel all of your feelings. When you enter this state, it's almost as if you have two minds, one moving, engaged in an experience, and one still, silently observing the other. This may sound completely bizarre, but it is quite possible and quite useful. It's a difficult state to achieve, but it can be reached. It seems to be something like the Zen practice of self-observation, and it's not unlike the meditation exercise of trying to observe your own breathing cycle. Normally, we breathe without thinking, but at any moment, we may consciously take control of our breathing process, consequently interfering with it. With practice, however, you can observe your natural unconscious breathing without disturbing it. But this takes practice, just as observing your experiences takes practice. Observing your experiences can be practiced anywhere, while watching TV, while working, while playing, or while doing anything at all. You won't get it right at first, but if you keep experimenting and practicing, you'll start to get the hang of it. It will take a great deal of practice, but if you truly want to listen to yourself and understand the nature of human experience, you will find the practice worthwhile. Been trying to practice vlogging privately to get that internal dialogue a bit more external. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. It's a great way to do it. One thing that I want to get more into, like, the meditation. Like, I don't really believe much in kind of like the Eastern spiritual side of things, but a lot of what Dr. K talks about is, like, utilizing the stuff, like, essentially tying a lot of, like, the Eastern practices and, like, meditation practices into the physiology of, like, the way that your brain works. And when he's able to draw those, like, connections between these meditations will focus on this specific element of, you know, mindfulness, or, you know, just being more kind of in touch with your body, like, and understanding what's going on there. Like, I think that there's a lot of benefit to be found in taking the time to allow your mind to be more connected with what's actually happening. In the same, to me, I view it kind of to be like in the same capacity that, like, working out helps to improve, like, function in your body. Meditation, in my opinion, is probably capable of, and again, this is perfectly and completely anecdotal, and honestly hardly even anecdotal, because I haven't really done a ton of meditation stuff, but I do firmly believe that meditation can serve as a good way to tap into understanding and getting a better feel for the flow of the way that like your own mind works, and that can serve you just as much as physically working out can. Although those two things I also believe kind of go hand in hand. Like, the mind and the body are linked in such a way that when the mental goes, the body will start to go as well. But that is more, there's probably a lot of extra science that goes into that. Like, I know that for some people, like, there are some people who, like, when they get, like, very high levels of stress, their body just starts acting completely fucking bizarre. Whether if that's just them, like, getting a flu randomly, or if that's, like, their, you know, like, their, like, bowel movements are just out of whack, or they just can't take a shit. You know, like, those types of things. Like, I've heard a lot of different, like, anecdotal things of, like, when I'm stressed, these things happen to my body. So, to me, that is an indicator that there's probably some level of validity to what is being talked about by Dr. K in relation to meditation and understanding the way that your mind works, and learning how to navigate that is beneficial from a physical perspective and a mental perspective. But anyways. Yeah. Essential experience. But how does all this talk about experience and observation really fit in with games? If I want to make a game about, say, a snowball fight, does analyzing my memories of a real snowball fight have any bearing on the snowball fight game I want to make? There's no way I can perfectly replicate the experience of a real snowball fight without real snow and real friends outside in the real world. So, what's the point? The point is that you don't need to perfectly replicate real experiences to make a good game. What you need to do is to capture the essence of those experiences for your game. What does the essence of an experience really mean? Every memorable experience has some key features that define it and make it special. When you go over your memory of a snowball fight experience, for example, you might think a lot of things. Some of you might even consider essential to that experience, there was so much snow, school was canceled. We played right in the street. The snow was just right for packing. It was so cold but sunny. The sky was so blue. There were kids everywhere. We built this huge fort. Fred threw a snowball really high. When I looked up at it, he chucked one right at my head. We couldn't stop laughing. There are also parts of that experience that you don't consider essential. I was wearing corduroy pants. I had some mints in my pocket. A man walking his dog looked at us. As a game designer trying to design an experience, your goal is to figure out the essential elements that really define the experience you want to create, and find ways to make them a part of your game design. This way, the players of your game get to experience those essential elements. Much of this book will be about the many ways you can craft a game to get across the experience you want players to have. The key idea here is that the essential experience can often be delivered in a form that is very real, that is very different from a real experience. To follow up on the snowball fight example, what are some of the ways you could convey the experience? It was so cold through a snowball fight game. Oh, sorry. What are some of the ways you could convey the experience "it was so cold" through a snowball fight game? If it's a video game, you could certainly use artwork. The characters could breathe little puffs of condensation, and they could have a shivering animation. You could use sound effects. Perhaps a whistling wind could convey coldness. Maybe there wasn't a cold wind on the day you're imagining, but the sound effect might capture the essence and deliver an experience that seems cold to the player. You could use the rules of the game too, if cold was really important to you. Maybe players could make better snowballs without gloves, but when their hands get too cold, they have to put gloves on. Again, that might not have really happened, but the game rule helps deliver an experience of coldness that will be an integral part of your game. Some people find this approach strange. They say, just design a game and see what experience comes out of it. And I suppose it is true. If you don't know what you want, you might not care what you get. But if you do know what you want, if you have a vision of how you would like your game to feel to the players, you need to consider how you're going to deliver the essential experience. And this brings us to our first lens. Lens number 1. The lens of essential experience. To use this lens, you stop thinking about your game and start thinking about the experience of the player. Ask yourself these questions. What experience do I want the player to have? I think part of that is there's a concept that we talked about on my game design course called the core pillars. And the idea is that in any given game, you have specific things that every decision should essentially be capable of leading back to. For Odd Contents, we had 3 core pillars. The first pillar was narrative tension. We wanted there to be a sense of something is wrong, but what that actually is unclear, and you have to continue playing the game to discover what that is. We wanted exploration to be one of our core pillars. We wanted people to feel incentive. Like, we have quest markers over the characters' heads that when you are playing it. Those quest markers are something that, like, it's not drawn on the screen telling you exactly where to go. The quest markers are only on the characters themselves, and you have to explore the town trying to find the right character that you need to talk to, which facilitates a need for exploration and also creates opportunities for somewhat dynamic experiences to happen. An example of that in our game would be there are kind of one-off throwaway lines that that some of the characters will be able to say. You'll be able to walk up to them and you can talk to them, even if they're not like a part of the main quest that you're doing. And they may say something that is reflective or points to something that is indicative of stuff that may be happening around the town or that you've done so far. Those things create a sense of, or the entire point of them was to hopefully create a sense of the player wanting to explore, to talk to these people more, to talk to more of the townsfolk so that they can get a better idea of what's actually going on in the process of them trying to find the right person that they need to talk to for the quest to progress. So that is kind of the whole idea of exploration. And then the third one was, I don't remember the specific wording we used for it, but it's essentially artistic dissonance, or visual dissonance is what we said. Our game is very kind of cozy. It's very plushy. But there are moments in the game that are very, very sharp, very vivid, and very intensely, like, there's like moments of being gruesome. And that is intentional. And the reason we did that is because we wanted there to be we wanted that cozy feeling to exist, while also, we wanted that cozy feeling to exist while also delving into the horror element of the game. And so the cozy element is accomplished by the vast majority of the artwork. But there's just enough of like these sharp moments of like really, really hard clarity that are distinctly different from the rest of the art, that draws the player's attention to them, that creates that visual tension that we're looking for. Those are the three pillars that we essentially have for our game, and I feel like all of them effectively came through pretty well. I would say that there's more that could be done in the realm of exploration. But with the time constraints that we had in the process of us trying to get this game done, we just weren't able to do it with the resources that we had available. Which is a bit of a bummer, but that's okay. That's game development. If you ever made a game, it'd be narrative focused. That's one thing too. Like our narrative designer, like it's very interesting to realize narrative design in a game. Honestly, I would say only about 10% of it is actually like script writing. The vast majority of the narrative design is you essentially describing every single element that everyone else needs to know what needs to be made. So an example would be in our game we have a character, Cindy Susie Lou. Cindy Susie Lou is essentially kind of like the staple kind of creepy girl of our game. And she pretty consistently, like when you talk to her, everything seems fine. But in her yard, there's a bunch of blood splatters all over the place, none of which are explained to the player. And there's like a little bit of blood that's like splattered on the house as well. And there's something that happens in the middle of a conversation that you have with her that's like, oh, this is not a normal little girl. All of the details of like the white picket fence surrounding her house, the way her house looks, the blood that we want to have present, the way, like the type of posture and stance that Cindy Susie Lou has, all of these things are a narrative designer's responsibility to effectively describe so that the artists can then go ahead and actually create the things that will then be used to represent that character in both the character itself and the environment. And in like bigger studios, you're probably going to have dedicated people that are for like environmental narrative stuff, and then you'll have people who are talking about character narrative stuff. Like those are probably going to be two separate disciplines that are intertwined and interact with each other, but are realistically probably going to be separate disciplines in like big studios. But in small studios, a narrative designer is kind of like the catch-all. They're describing everything, and they're also writing the script. So, anyways, Morrowind seems like they wanted that too for the second pillar. I mean, exploration is definitely like a pillar within the Elder Scrolls games for sure. at at bigger scales like that, like when you're talking about small games like indie type stuff, like smaller indie titles, you're probably not going to be exceeding 4 pillars. When you're talking about AAA titles, you're going to have a lot more, because there's a lot more systems that check a lot more boxes for the type of experience. Like, the bigger the project, generally speaking, this is not a law, but generally speaking, you are going to have more systems in place that are designed to appeal to a wider variety of players when you have games that have larger scale. That, again, not always the case. That is not like a rule of thumb, I would say, even. Maybe that's not even really a good way to put it. But, like, I'll take Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 as, like, a decent example of, like, what I would say one of their core pillars probably was. I would say probably one of their strongest core pillars is, or two pillars, is immersion and historical accuracy. I would say that those are two pillars that probably exist for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Like, the actual environment that you were playing in that game is very, very close to, like, almost a one-to-one of the actual environment that it's set in like, history. Which, admittedly, I'm not very, like, well-versed when it comes to the historical stuff in relation to that. But, and then the immersion element is, like, the fast travel system. Perfect example. Like, they have a fast travel system. But that fast travel system is literally your character moving along the map on, like, the roads towards your destination. And when you do that, you can have random encounters of, like, a person will be on the side of the road and being, like, harassed by bandits. And you have the option, in the middle of your fast travel, to either stop and help him or try to avoid these guys. And it'll give you, like, a percentage for your chance of being able to avoid them. That is an immersion type thing. That's like, a fast travel is not you removing yourself from the game when you're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It is a literal traversal of you moving through the world and actual things being capable of happening in the process of that accelerated timetable happening. And then when you're making potions in that game, you're not just doing like what Skyrim does. You're not just throwing a few things together and just kind of hitting the create button and hoping that it works. You're grinding things up. You're throwing a bunch of ingredients into a pot. You're boiling it for a specific amount of time, and then you're raising that up, and then you're putting the other ingredients that you ground up into the pot after that you just boiled it. Maybe you have to boil it a little bit more. Like, all of that stuff contributes to a very, very immersive experience. Like, they essentially kind of made a medieval simulator with that game. And so that's an example of what I would say some core pillars are, and there's probably, I would imagine, at least 7 more for that game, realistically. I could be wrong, but bigger games generally have to have more pillars to be able to make it all stand together in a good level of cohesion. First 2 Fallouts, Daggerfall had a lot of that. See, I played a little bit of Oblivion. I'm 30 years old. I played a little bit of Oblivion growing up, but Skyrim was like my first like RPG that I shouldn't say my first RPG, but it was like the first one that was like really like, this was the RPG that I got into. I played like Knights of the Old Republic growing up, but that was a game that like my brother got into, and he bought it, he played it, and I played Knights of the Old Republic a good amount when I was younger, but it was kind of our game. Skyrim was like my game. My brother loved playing Oblivion, didn't really get into Skyrim all that much. I loved Skyrim. I still love Skyrim. I did a playthrough of Skyrim early last year, and that was the first time I'd actually played up to max level. Or, I know there's no max level anymore, but original max level, which I think was like 80, because I wanted to fight the Ebony Warrior, and I wanted to see how difficult it would be for me to do it. I fucking shit on that guy, dude. I destroyed the Ebony Warrior. It was crazy. Statement. KOTOR was this meatbag's Vim's first RPG. I mean, KOTOR's a great game. KOTOR is a phenomenal game. So what experience do I want the player to have? That's kind of what the core pillars are. And that's what pre-production is about. Pre-production is essentially establishing what those core pillars are and establishing what systems you want to build out that lend themselves to what your core pillars are. Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was such a good game. I was very surprised. I thought I was not going to like it because it very much seemed like a bit of a sim type game to me. I have been astounded at how much I have really enjoyed getting into the sim type aspects of that game. It's a very light sim. I don't want to call it a sim. I feel like that's too far to call it like an actual sim, but it has enough of those elements in a light enough capacity that I don't feel oppressed by them. In the same way that I think a lot of like survival mode things like are just too much for me. Like I don't like the micromanaging aspect of that stuff. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has its own survival mode, or hardcore mode, I should say. But survival modes in games like Fallout and like Skyrim, like the mods and stuff that they've done for those, like it's just too much for me. Kingdom Come Deliverance strikes a fine balance for that works really well for me personally. And I've been having a lot of fun playing it. Alright, so back onto the lens of essential experience. What is essential to that experience? And how can my game capture that essence? If there is a big difference between the experience you want to create and the one you are actually creating, your game needs to change. You need to clearly state the essential experience you desire and find as many ways as possible to instill this essence into your game. The design of the very successful baseball game in Wii Sports is an excellent example of the lens of essential experience in use. Originally, the designers had intended to make it as much like real baseball as possible, with the added bonus that you could swing your controller like a bat. As they proceeded, though, they realized they wouldn't have time to simulate every aspect of baseball as well as they wanted. So, they made a big decision. Since swinging the controller was the most unique part of the game, they would focus all their attention on getting that part of the baseball experience right. What they felt was the essential part. They decided that other details, 9 innings, stealing bases, etc., were not part of the essential experience that they were trying to create. It is true that many designers do not use the lens of essential experience. They just kind of follow their gut instinct and stumble across game structures that happen to enable experiences that people enjoy. The danger with this approach is that it relies on luck to a large extent. To be able to separate the experience from the game is very useful. If you have a clear picture in your mind of the experiences your players are having and what parts of your game enable that experience, you will have a much clearer picture of how to make your games better, because you will know which elements of the game you can safely change and which ones you cannot. The ultimate goal of the game designer is to deliver an experience. When you have a clear picture in your ideal experience and its essential elements, your design has something to aspire to. Without that goal, you're just wandering in the dark. All that's real is what you feel. All this talk of experience brings out an idea that is very strange indeed. The only reality we can know is the reality of experience, and we know that what we experience is not really reality. We filter reality through our senses and through our minds, And the consciousnesses we actually experience is a kind of illusion, not really reality at all. But this illusion is all that can ever be real for us, because it is us. This is a headache for philosophers, but a wonderful thing for game designers, because it means that designed experiences are created through our games, that it means that the designed experiences that are created through our games have a chance of feeling as real and as meaningful, and sometimes more so, than our everyday experiences. We'll explore that further in Chapter 9, but now it's time to take a look at the other side of the experience coin. We've studied the flame. Now it's time to examine the log from which it rises. But that will be for another time, because Chapter 3, the experience rises out of a game, is for another time. Oh, cool. I don't remember how many chapters this book has. It's a pretty chunky book. I want to make sure that I'm reading, like I'm getting this book done in... It's a pretty chunky book. 33 chapters. Okay, so I could read most of this book in a month. The vast majority of it. So, yeah. And I'm going to continue working on other stuff. Like I'm not just reading that today, but that is where I'm going to stop reading that book for now. I'm actually going to hop into odd content stuff for a little bit. So if you want to stick around and see the way that some of that stuff works and what I've actually been doing as like, I worked as the producer and the level designer on that game, so I'm more than welcome to share some of that stuff with you. But let's go ahead and pop this open in Godot real quick. Just a friend who could help you save your men. A foe like Cersei, not to be messed with. You want to beat her, you'll need the blessing of a certain god. Divine intervention, someone who's not afraid to send a message. Hermes? Alright. So, what was I doing? I need to open up my to-do list, because I don't remember exactly. So I need to do that. Need to do that. Q course compendium, Q3 books. Okay, no, I already got that. Action plan. Could be a voice actor. I've done my fair share of voice acting stuff over the years. I've done some like advertisement work for some small companies. I've had some audition opportunities for some Disney IP stuff, but I none of them ever like amounted to anything. I've done a lot of voiceover work for like contract work for YouTube channels, some of which have actually done pretty well. Some of those videos have gotten a little more than 1 million views. Let me tell you though, those gigs do not pay well. Voice actors do not make a lot of money. Like you got to be working incredibly hard to have a chance at making yourself a decent living working as a voice actor, and even then it's a struggle. I love doing voice acting work. I really do. And actually one thing that I think I would still like to do in the future, like I've done my fair share of voice acting stuff. I would absolutely love to break into the games industry, because I would like to work on the AAA side. I really would. I would love to work on the AAA side of the games industry, and then in the future kind of use that as a leverage point to be able to break in to some voice acting on the game side. I would love that. But that's not something that I'm going to be pursuing anytime in the near future. And when I say near future, I mean probably not in the next decade. Because I'm very focused right now on production, and there's nothing wrong with choosing to go like the realm of voice acting, but if I want to actually be successful in the areas that I want to be successful in, and for me that success looks like becoming a senior level producer, ideally at like a place like either Santa Monica Studio or Naughty Dog, something like that. Maybe even Insomniac. Granted, those companies could change a lot in that time frame, but those are the types of companies that I would like to be like a senior level producer at. If I want to be a senior level producer, I am going to have to stay with that track for a very long period of time. Practice impressions in private. Focus less on sounding like characters and more on stepping into that role. Yeah, I've done, there's a... If you want to do voice acting stuff, by all means, you should 100% pursue it. Like, pursue what you're passionate about. I will say, if you want a good entry point into voice acting, Joel Weldon and Ned Lott are two people that I've taken courses and workshops through. Joel Weldon, powerhouse of the advertisement industry. He has been, or just advertisements for like voice acting in general, really knowledgeable guy, super down to earth, super sweet, like just goes out of his way to help people from his cohorts as much as possible. But I mean, this guy, like, he's been doing this for like pushing 2 decades now, and he has worked in the realm, like he's done advertisements for Rosetta Stone. He's been one of the main guys for Ford. He's done a lot of stuff for Carl's Jr. I mean, like, he's done like advertising campaign, like he did like an NHL campaign at one point. Like, he's very good at what he does. And he's like, in my opinion, like shelling out the money to take his like kind of basics course is 100% worth it, even if you never go into voice acting, because it just really teaches you, it gives you a lot of fundamentals on how to really connect with your own voice and how to use it effectively. Wes Johnson does courses sometimes. I was thinking of trying it last year. Pretty affordable. Yeah. And then Ned Lott is the other person. He wasn't really working in the realm of voice acting. Like, he himself is not a voice actor. He's a director, and like, he's a director and a casting professional. He was the one who was responsible for doing the English voice casting and direction for Howl's Moving Castle. Used to be the president of Disney Voices, I believe. So, again, very knowledgeable, very intense. Like, if you were to go to one of his workshops, you better be expected to be like interrupted and say, not quite that, go more like this, go more like this, go more like he will just get you there as fast as possible. And he will describe in great detail where he wants you to go. He's intense to work with, but he's great. Your voice isn't suited for the characters you're actually trying. Well, and like, everyone has different, like, everyone has like a archetype, not archetype, but like prototypes is what I think they're officially referred to as, which is like, what specific people that are already like in the realm of acting or voice acting is your voice similar to. My voice, my prototypes would be probably Tom Holland and John Krasinski. I have a very similar range to those guys, and so I could do a lot of the same types of parts that they would probably be capable of. So having someone that you can look at you and say, these are probably prototypes that are close to you, gives you a good idea of the types of range that you're able to go with. Joel Weldon, in his like beginner's class, he will essentially give you a full, like, this is the breakdown of what I think, like, these are the things that you're naturally like capable of doing. Not to say that those are the only things that you can do, but these are the things that you're naturally capable of doing. This is the level I think you're at for here, and here are some like further steps that you could probably take if you want to keep developing your own skill. I'm trying to think what, I'm getting distracted, but anyways, I'm getting distracted, but kind of sound like L from Death Note, you suppose. Yeah. And here's the thing, like, just post shit. Just post shit. I know that, like, the guy who plays, what's his... Not Kinger, the ringleader in The Amazing Digital Circus. Why am I spacing on his name right now? Regardless. That guy got his role literally just because he was, like, posting YouTube shorts of, like, him doing funny voices for different things. And the creator, like, Glitch, essentially saw it and was like, that voice seems like the type of voice I would want for this character. You know, like, you never know what comes from these types of things. Just post stuff. Just throw it out there. Throw shit against the wall and see what sticks. Have fun with it. Okay, so, level design stuff. What I was essentially responsible for was making the actual map. I was given all of the art assets, and I was told, hey, we want you to make the map. These are the different, like, things that we want to have conveyed for different POIs, for different characters. Here's, like, a limited set of art assets. Do what the narrative designer wants. I can do this, I think. I can do an F6. I can show you kind of what happens here. So is this actually going to give me volume? Okay, yeah, it is. Can I turn this up? I can. Well, that's not where I'm supposed to start. I'm actually going to change that really quick. You are supposed to be starting over here. Okay. So, starting the game. We're going to be changing the movement speed and stuff, based on some feedback that we got. But, Great Antlord. I'm going to skip past some of this dialogue so I can show kind of what, it is that I was trying to get to. Specifically with Cindy Susie Lou. So you talk with Antlord, and then you end up going over to Mr. Santana, who's like the postman, and he's hiring you as a courier. You need to get a job, so you're being hired as a courier. Okay, so we've been given our first pickup. We're going to Cindy Susie Lou's house. Cindy Susie Lou got fucking blood all over the place in here. Shit's fucked up. But I'll walk through this conversation so that we can kind of like see it. Hi there, I'm here to pick up a delivery from a Cindy Susie Lou. Do you get shot in the head by Matthew Perry after you become a courier? You're gonna have to play the game and find out. But not Matthew Perry. Hiya, that's me. Wow, you actually came. See, Cindy Susie Lou's adorable. I did. Pick up for Granny Lou. I've got it right here. Thanks. I'm Bex, by the way. I'm new in town. I already know who you are. You do? Yeah, the lake told me. It gets lonely sometimes. It's really happy that you're here. Okay. Make sure you get the package to Granny today, okay? It's really, really important that you do. Whispers. It's for my birthday. I'll do my best. Could you sign here for me, please? Cindy signs the paper with her name, a smiley face, and a heart. Wow, that's an impressive signature. Very professional. Thanks. Granny says good handwriting makes people trust you. You trust me, right? Sure I do. Yay! You're way nicer than that last courier. He was grumpy and smelled like cigarettes. Blech. What happened to him? The lake got lonely, of course. Right. Well, I should get going now. You, stay safe out there. Bye, Bex. Tell Granny I said hi. What the fuck was that? See, now we're carrying a box. So that's all you're gonna get. You're gonna have to wait until we get this posted on itch to go ahead and see the rest. But you get the idea. You get the vibes. You're kind of left with this, like, you don't really know what, you don't really know exactly what's going on. But yeah. So as far as our game goes, the biggest thing that I was trying to resolve with, like, the level design aspects, was I wanted to be sure that, like, in our shipped build, we didn't have any of these extra paths or anything. Or I say our shipped build, the one that we presented. This little, like, flower pentagram wasn't here. This whole, like, section was not here. The whole idea behind this, and you're just kind of get a little bit of a developer insight into this. So the exploration element is going to be kind of spoiled for you if you play through it. But there was a lot of contention amongst amongst the team as to whether or not we wanted the walls to actually, or the trees to serve as walls, where you could literally not go through them. We decided that we were going to allow people to move through the trees, with the caveat that while they're moving through the trees, their actual movement speed is going to be slower. The reason for this is because we really did want to allow there to be a bit more, like, opportunity for actual player exploration in a way that, you know, we just weren't sure people were going to feel like they got. The only challenge that provides from a level design perspective for me is the fact that when you are playing any 2D game, you need to be sure that wherever the player is capable of going, there is always some visual representation of a path available for the player to see. The reason for this is you don't want the player to feel like they're lost. So this didn't exist, but when we decided we're going to allow the players to actually be able to move through the trees, I was like, okay, that means that I need to check the different areas of the map with the starting locate, or I need to check the different areas of the map with Bex and say, can they actually, where on the map can they stand where no paths are visible? So I had to essentially place the starting location in a lot of different places, test different spots, make sure that wherever there was, like, some standing, I can go back in really quick to just kind of show. I'll increase the movement speed. Like, I wanted to make sure that, like, from here, there's some type of path visible. You have a path down here. You have, like, the note, for, like, the fence for the house here. You have a little bit of the sidewalk that's visible on the top side. Here, you can see the street on either side. You can see the path over here. I lowered the top end of the map just to make it so that I didn't have to build anything else out here, because it was just going to be a little bit more time consuming, and I was struggling to come up with ways to make distinct POIs. I was struggling with ways to come up with more distinct POIs while also I didn't want any of the POIs to feel like they were repeating each other. And I was struggling to come up with ways with the limited art assets that I have, because I can't just have an unlimited amount of art assets, to make those POIs feel distinct. So I made sure that if you're in this top corner, as far away from the path as you can be, you can still see the house. And then the rest is true, like with this lake over here, like you can still see everything from the lake and you're still good. This is technically an area where you can't see a path, but this one in particular is kind of by design. And even then, you can still kind of get away with it a little bit. I could probably bring it a little bit farther to the left, or maybe cut some more trees out here to make it a bit better. But this one is close enough to other paths that this is kind of meant to be a little bit of an Easter egg, so that if people find it, cool. And it's close enough to other paths that I'm willing to kind of let it be. And then this entire section did not exist before. I was kind of thinking cherry blossom type trees of like moving through like the cherry blossom lanes that you have. That was the inspiration for this, while also wanting to create another path here. Having another path that was like tied in enough so that you could go all the way down to the bottom here and still have a path that brings you back up towards the main road. The only part that I need to build something out for is this one. Like specifically this section right here has nothing in it, and you cannot see any paths if you are as far over to the bottom right as you can go. So that's the last part of the level design that I need to be sure is good. As far as like being able to see a path. I think everything else on the right side is still good. Yeah, you can still see the road over here when you go like all the way to the right. So like that's the biggest thing that I wanted to be sure of. Which I didn't know any of that before I started working on this stuff, but one of the guys that was in our group has shipped his own game before, and so he was in a gold mine of experience to be able to reference, and I was grateful to have him in our group, and I asked him a lot of questions over the course of this project. Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to do with like the visual kind of tension is like to reinforce this idea of there are orange trees throughout this entire map. None of the orange trees border the lake itself. That was an intentional design choice. I wanted to, like, I had to clear it with the narrative designer to make sure that she was okay with it. But I essentially wanted to say, hey, like, I almost want it to feel as if, like, nature itself is, like, pushing away from the lake. Like, nature doesn't want to be next to it. So all of the light colors that come with the orange trees are not next to the lake, and none of the orange trees when you're walking along the lake are even visible. Like, it is distinctly a green layer. You can, like, obviously there's the buildings and stuff, but you cannot see any orange trees when you are able to see the lake. And that was very, like, that was, you know, it's a subtle thing. Like, that type of stuff doesn't get noticed by, like, anyone. But it reinforces the experience in a somewhat subconscious way. And that kind of ties into what they're talking about in this book of The Art of Game Design. Like, that is, like, the subconscious. That's something that's really not that, like, measurable. That's not very data applicable. Like, most people, maybe they would say, like, if there were a bunch of orange trees here before, and then we did A/B testing where there's orange trees next to the lake, and then there's orange trees not next to the lake, in, like, 2 separate set of tests, maybe we get some feedback that says, ooh, yeah, I like this one more. But most people probably wouldn't be able to identify exactly why. But my theory is that in doing this, it helps to reinforce the idea that the lake itself has something sinister about it. So, like, those are the types of decisions that as the level designer, I was kind of responsible for trying to flesh out and make, which really, admittedly, was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this. Yeah. Granted, and like one of the things that we did, we kind of tried to personify the lake a little bit by like having like this almost just looks like a head. And honestly, that was a complete fucking accident that I did this. Like I was sculpting the lake, and as I did that, I was like, oh, it kind of looks like a cat head. And then as I was looking at it, I was like, oh shit, no, that would actually go kind of hard. Like to have like the docks, have that be like a piece of the game that actually feels like it's, oh yeah, you're actually, this is something beyond just a lake. Like that was something that I was like, that's a really cool idea. And I threw it out there as just kind of like a meme to my group. And I was like, oh, look, it's a face. And then I was like, I kind of like that though. And they were all like, oh yeah, we should totally do that. So it's fun stuff. Like it's good. Okay, This is mercy upon ourselves. Probably need to like delete these ones, I think. Maybe. Actually, no, I can probably leave those. I just need to try to think of something to. I will say though, the process of like actually getting this to a point where I was able to like draw everything like clearly was a pain in the ass. Yeah, I have Discord. I don't have a Discord command active right now because I don't have any of my bot stuff active. Normally I have a lot more going on in my actual like OBS scenes back here. But for reasons I won't bore you with, I essentially had to back them up, and I just haven't re-imported them yet. But I do have a Discord server. I can drop a link to that in there. I'm not super active in it. I really don't frequent my own Discord server all that much. But I can share a link to it regardless. My feet on the ground. I'll just drop this link in the chat real quick. There we are. Giant waves and giant storms. How am I to evade him? How am I to get home? Which route should I take? Where am I supposed to go? He will chase you high and low. You'll find a place he'll never go.
One way you'll get home is sailing where he's scared to roam. Oh, it's through the lair of Scylla.
Oh, I use Discord a lot. I just don't frequent my own server that much. I'm in other servers with like a lot of like IRL friends that I'm like in voice channels for very frequently. But just my own, like I used to use it a lot more, and maybe I'll use it more in the future if there's some people who are like really active in the community that would enjoy that, but like it's a supplementary thing. It's not really a big focus for me. Okay, I need to figure out what I want this to be. Ooh, what if I were to...
Let's cut the charade. You are no wife of mine. You've been trying to take my life this whole time. I know underwater there are packs of you.
What if I just made... I don't know if I want to do that. I feel like that might be a little too much. I was thinking of like making like a skull out of rocks. These VTubers, you know, you mod for, it's intense sometimes. Dude, I would never want to be a Discord mod, like, of active community servers. Fuck being a Discord mod for that shit. No way, you would not ever catch me doing that. Cause we won't take more suffering from you. We are the man-made monsters. We are the ones who conquer. You are a threat no longer. We won't take more suffering from you. We've been away from home for about 12 years or so. Maybe I could just make this like a small little glade of something. Like it doesn't have to, I guess it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I can just make it like, do some scattered bushes, just maybe like a slight clearing, opening or whatever. Actually, I could probably just delete these then. And it could just be like an edge that kind of like goes out farther into the clearing. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just importing your photos and videos from your phone to computer before you try and switch to a what? Graphene OS? Is that a Linux distro? Disease, cause we won't take more suffering from you. We are the man-made monsters. We are the ones who conquer. He won't take more suffering from you. I could probably just put some like tufts of grass and stuff out here. Oh, don't need that. Okay, there we go. I want it to peek out a little bit. There we go. Kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. Whoa, whoa, Odysseus. One more there, sure, good enough for me. Now let's drop a few flowers in, just to spice it up a little bit more. It's another distro to run on Pixel phones that's more privacy focused. New Google APK stuff you just don't want to deal with. Basically just offloading your trip from the UK last year of pics and videos. Nice. Oh yeah. Now if I click on this, how does that look? I feel like that's not too bad. That's like a nice little glade. Although I kind of want to draw a little bit more on this side. Sleep. I'm feeling betrayed. In the crime that you made, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Maybe throw a few more tufts of grass up here, and then I think I'm probably good. Lucas, perhaps 6 torches. Something approaches. Hello. Yep, we were on Mixer. RIP. Your description says that you followed me from Mixer? Your fucking profile description says you followed me from Mixer? That's crazy. Oh, shit. Yeah, Mixer was Microsoft's streaming platform before it got shut down. I think it got shut down in, what, late 2019? Something like that? Made a lot of lifelong friends there. Oh, you were from Mixer too? Hell yeah. I was really, dude, I was fucking balls deep in streaming on Mixer. Like, I think at the peak, I was streaming 38 hours a week while still working like 30 hours a week at my other job. Or at my job. Like, I was, dude, it was ridiculous. It was like, I would work doubles from like Friday to Sunday, get the vast majority of my hours there, and then I would hang out with people in the late nights, and then I would pretty much every weekday just stream 8 hours a day. It was ridiculous. And let me tell you, that was probably one of the worst things I could have done at the time. Well, that's a lie. I shouldn't say that. If my goal, well, my goal at the time was to grow. There are a lot of things that I could have been doing very differently to more effectively grow, and I just wasn't doing them because I was just being stubborn and wanting to stream. Like, it had nothing to do with me wanting to grow. It had everything to do with me being like, oh, but if I just keep streaming more, I'll definitely grow. It wasn't really happening. I was growing to a certain degree, but I was also streaming under a very, very different, like, persona and vibe at that time. I am the one and only Jake from State Farm, following Real Poison Kill and Caleb Anderson VO back here on Twitch. I don't currently have any plans to stream, so if you're looking for content and a community, these two I can vouch for as great streamers, still unedited. I stopped in a Poison Kill stream the other day. He's actually still doing pretty well for himself. Anytime he goes live, he has like somewhere between like 70 and 100 people that are watching him on Twitch. His YouTube channel does pretty well. I'm pretty sure he makes like exclusively Fortnite content now, which is not really my jam, but he's a good guy. You must carry all the blame. Why is that not? Odysseus. Yeah, he's got 333,000 like YouTube subscribers. Like, he's doing pretty well for himself. 45k views on his latest short, 197k, 36k, 31, 2.8, 11k, 14, 162. Like, he does pretty well for himself. Yeah, he primarily does like skit content. What kind of vibe did you have then? A Jedi or something? That was, I did have a Jedi era where my username was Qui-Gons Be Bygones. But that's a very specific ask. Did you used to watch my content? Do I just, is this just a different username, or did I know you from somewhere else? Because I definitely did used to have like a Star Wars thing going. That was like old username though. That was like early 2019. No, that's true. I'm pretty sure actually, let me... It's Avner? What the fuck? What the fuck? When did you change your name? Lol. Lol. I was like, a Star Wars era is like a very specific ask. Oh shit. Dova, what's up? What's up, Dova? Long time no see. I was gonna be like, this is a bit too specifically convenient. It's a bit too specifically convenient. Yeah. Took a little bit of a hiatus from streaming there. What's up, Dova? I guess Vem, but oh man, long time no see. What was the here to stay? I appreciate it. So Dova, you saw you know what my content was like. You knew what my content was like. Full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. This is his most popular shirt. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, 51 million. Of course it's a 6-7 joke. 51 million views. Of course it's a 6-7 joke. How long till Christmas though? Oh, brother, don't even get me started. I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of
6-7.
Doctor, we've got another one. What's going on here?
He was playing his game and then he started doing that.
6-7.
Classic 7-6 disease.
7-6 disease?
We say 7-6 because if we call it 6-7 disease, it'll make the problem worse.
6-7.
I've got the kid, Doc. Thanks. Hey, kid. Why
Hey,
are
that's
6
that's the Skyrim game guide. I have that shit.
afraid of 7?
6-7.
Why?
6-7.
Because 7, 8, 9.
6-7. 6.
That's pretty funny.
My boy.
Cut the Wi-Fi for 2 weeks, and then you should be fine. Like and subscribe to help save more gamers.
6-7. 6-7.
That video got 51 million views, you guys. That video got 51 million. Like I said, I'm glad he's doing well for himself. This is not my kind of content. Top 10 anime moments reveal, but you can't hold it in. Not my kind of content, but it's done well for him, and he's enjoying it. And you know, by all, as far as I'm concerned, if he's enjoying it and it's doing well for him, fuck it, man. So, but yeah, it's so funny because he used to be like so like, he makes a lot of Fortnite related like skit content too. And he was so like anti-Fortnite for the longest time. And it's just like he's turned it around. And to be fair, to be clear, I think he started playing it as a bit of a meme with his community and just ended up enjoying himself and was like, wow, this is actually way more fun than I thought it was going to be. This isn't like a grifter thing of like, Fortnite content's popular, I'm gonna make content around that. That's not a grifter thing. Like, he was just genuinely enjoying himself. And I think he just realized, I'm enjoying myself and this content is doing well. I should just be doing more of this. His recent post was Sag. Wait, did they not? Oh, post, okay. Oh, man. Did he lose his house?
Someone's gotta die today, and you have got the final say. You or your crew. Please don't make me do this. Don't make me do this.
Man, I hope they didn't lose their house, man. I mean, it doesn't sound like they did. I mean, he's saying like some delays to videos, so it doesn't sound as if like they lost their home in the fire. But again, this was like 4 hours ago, so I don't know. I'm glad he and his family are doing okay. I'll have to send him a message, ask him how they're doing. I really hope he didn't lose his house. That would be fucking devastating. Okay, that was this. Let me double check just to be sure. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be enough space to actually make it like. Ah. Fuck. We're good. Cool. I just wanted to make sure that you could actually still see the path if you came over this way. So that is really all I needed to be sure of, which we are now looking pretty good. Wow, Restream.io. Congratulations, you've received 100 messages today with Restream Chat. Woo! I don't think there's anything else I actually need to do on this side. I think I just need to do the commit. Let me do sparkles. Let me do sparkles. Then we could do. Thank you for the blush. Roger to blush me. Feature. Level design. Glade added. Bottom right. Level design. Push origin. There we go. We have this committed. I don't think I need to do anything else in relation to specifically odd contents right now, but need to get that stuff. Action plan opportunities, yeah, which I already did there. Action plan. Oh yeah, that's what I need to do. Okay, so taking space and so much longer we can stall. No, I don't know. Drive. That's what I'm looking for. Whoopsies. Don't want that. Yes, I know I need a little bit more storage shit figured out. So admin, projected sprint timeline. I need to change this. Wanna be legendary. Where is he? Alright, so the next, essentially I'm going to just be working on like administrative stuff at this point. I'm essentially just going to be reworking my entire, boy. I'm going to be reworking my actual sprint plan, set of sprint plans, I guess. I know I did some of this in Chat GPT. No, it wasn't there. It was the game industry 12-month plan. So this was like, I essentially put together this plan and was like, I want you to like structure this. Sorry, I need to pull up an email here that I don't want to share with people because that's some sensitive information in it that I don't want people to know about. Yeah, we already have that there. Wait, did I not? Oh, wait, no, I already have this here. Okay, well, no, we're chilling. Okay, is this the same document? Why is that not weird? Okay, I'm just gonna delete that one because I have this here too. Alright, sorry, I'm gonna make a couple adjustments here.
Is your plan to stand around? 'Cause I suggest you fight back. Uppercut him now.
On that.
No, I just made your thoughts quick. All right, now let's try this again. I've no respect for bullies.
Exactly. Could you be quiet? Sorry, I need to kind of remove some like personal information from this document before I can actually show what it's on here. So one sec. Fight, little wolf, fight. Okay. Fight. Okay, I really didn't do much in the way of this first sprint. Well, no, I was doing some other stuff, but I wasn't doing like what I had originally planned on, which is fine. I was doing some refinement and some adjusting, so it's okay. Move things back a couple of weeks, and I think I'll be okay. Okay, nothing there, and then okay, I don't think there's anything else in here. Okay, awesome. This is what we're working on now. So, development plan. So we're not doing the development plan. These are things that I do want to do, but they're not on the docket for me. So Jira Essentials is essentially what I'm going to be working on first. So I thought maybe if I'd made a different call, maybe. I'm actually not going to be doing that agile. Okay, so this is, hold please. There's some other books that I'm going to be doing with this as well, but these are essentially the first 3 that I'm going to be reading. We have The Art of Game Design, Book of Lenses. Then we have Agile Game Development, Build, Play, Repeat, 2nd edition. And then Difficult Conversations, How to Discuss What Matters Most. I got a lot of pages to read here. These are the first 3 that I'm going to be doing. I was also given essentially a action plan for things that I could also be doing to, like, other pieces of material that I could be going through to kind of enhance the process of this. Where is it at? Templates and resources. That's what I'm looking for. Resources. That's what I'm looking for. I know we'll be fine. I know just like you'll find. You're a good kid. Thanks. Okay. Can I download this and then... Sorry guys, I'm trying to make sure that I'm not like sharing any personal information for anyone. Like I would just prefer not to. Edit. I want to... How do I make like a... How do I fill something in so that I can block it out? How to... Black out text in PDF. Redaction tool? Okay, well that's fine, but how do I actually find one? Top left, redact a PDF. Menu. Where's the redact? Redacted! Open your PDF in Adobe Acrobat. All tools, top left. Redact PDF. All tools. Redact! That's what I'm looking at. Oh shit, of course it's a fucking paid feature. Why wouldn't it be? Can I just delete this? Dear my love for life. I'm just spy now. Uh-oh. I'm what you need here under with me, my dear, in paradise. Of course, that's a premium feature as well. Why wouldn't it be? Oh, this is why I hate PDFs. I just want Word documents that I can adjust myself. Ugh. It's we got all we could want here, all we could need here. Under my spell, was stuck in paradise. Okay, I may as well just cover this. Books. I can just adjust the document. Sorry, I was gonna show this guy to you guys, but don't think I'm actually gonna be able to. Download started. Hopefully, if done right, it doesn't get bricked. That is the hope. That is always the hope. Okay, so let's do this here. We have... I'm gonna bold this, though. So we are starting with the art of game design. Then we're going to agile game development. Difficult conversations. There was another book that I have on order that is on its way. I have to double check. What is the name of that book? I'm only gonna be doing one book a month, so it's gonna take a bit before I get to this other one, but I'm going to go check the name of it because I'm spacing on it. I think it's How to Direct Games 101, and it's like written by the director of the Ratchet and Clank series. And while direction is not necessarily production, I imagine there's enough overlap in the skill sets that are used there that it would be worth it to read it. Orders. Where's my book? God King, rarely do I ask for favors. Now I'm knocking. Yeah, here it is. Directing video games 101. Tips for creative leaders. Divine intervention. How to discuss what matters most. Why not make it a game? Second edition, Art of Game Design. A Book of Lenses. And then we have Directing Video Games 101. Tips for creative leaders. Apollo, you all know I'm a fan of catchy songs, but with so many sirens gone, I think Cody's in the wrong.
They were trying to do him worse. All he
Did was reimburse him. Now they'll tread with caution first to live another day and sing another verse.
That's true.
Applying for your PI license soon? Hell yeah. Festus. Trust is not given, it's forced. Why should I give him my support? He sacrificed his own cohort.
Did you forget they failed to listen? He was betrayed.
I've already read Blood, Sweat, and Pickles, but it is still a good book. I would recommend it to people.
Fine, we listen.
Peopleware.
You're a little high and mighty. Odysseus claims to love his mother, but let her die of a broken heart. He was busy fighting. More like busy spider. Cyclops let him feel the pain.
So I'm not gonna need to buy this for a while because I'm gonna be doing one. Dude, none of my bot stuff is set up right now. None of it is. I don't even think I haven't had like the Boba Fett shuffle shit going on in a minute.
What kind of sick coward holds back his power?
Other books.
Didn't even fight Scylla, didn't even try to kill her. Hides inside a wooden horse to
Get the job done. Never handles things up front. Let it go weak like his son. What's the
Hold your tongue now. Here's something
Jesse Shell? I need to.
you got a broken heart for land. You want more bloodshed than
Clinton Keith. Douglas Stone, Patton, Bruce Patton, and Sheila Heen. Directing video games 101. Brian Algier? I think that's how I say that.
Never once has he cheated on his wife. Release him.
Peopleware. Who's this by?
I played your game and won. Release him.
DeMarco
You dare to defy me, to make me
and Lister.
no one beats me.
No one wins my game. The manager's path. Fournier. Radical candor. I don't like the name of this title, Nonviolent Communication. I understand the idea that they're going for. And on an individual level, I can 100% understand the idea behind it. And I believe that people should strive to be kind and considerate in the way that they communicate. Not soft and not like over accommodating for people's feelings, but considerate. And I think this is, how many books is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books. So that would cover the vast majority of like this path. Like over the course of the next 9 months, this would cover the vast majority of the books that I could read that would really help me out. Sticks and stones, brother. Sticks and stones. Are there any other books that are listed in here? I came by to say you're unlike anyone I have ever known, 'cause you're all I've ever known. And if I pushed you, or if I came on too strong, or if I ambushed you, or that I'll say I was wrong. The most widely used project and documentation tools in professional game studios. If you do not know them, learn them before your first job. Increasingly common in indie midsize for Notion, ShotGrid, formerly Shotgun, the industry standard for asset tracking in larger studios. Worth knowing it exists and even what it does, even if you do not use it in your first role. Google Suite for collaborative documentation. You're already using it. Learn the advanced features for Sheets specifically. Production schedules, budget tracking, and risk registers are all often built here. Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to learn how to do that stuff as well. But in the meantime, so too strong, or if I ambushed you. There was one other thing here that I had. Okay, so the Google project management course. I'm not sorry for loving you. The Google Project Management one through Coursera. I feel like I could do more than this. Let me double check what the Coursera one is, because I have a membership with Coursera here now. I wish you would lie and say I love you. What do you mean you don't recognize it? Hate that I fell in love with you.
Men, 600 deaths under
My command, with only one goal in mind.
No fleet, no band, only this raft that I made by hand. How will I reach my homeland? All you have to
Sorry, I'm trying to finish filling some of this stuff out. I swear that I already had this. Okay, okay, cool. No, okay, we're good. Hello, old friend. Not now. So, Agile with Atlassian Jira. One last chance to make it back home and abandon caution washing away like the blood your hands have known. I know if you dance with fate, and I know you'll enhance your state. How many hours is this supposed to take? Oh, this is like a really short one. Okay, that's fine. There's a good amount of this material that I'm not going to be able to stream just because it is stuff that is like... It's stuff that is like paywalled. So I'm probably going to have to do a good chunk of this stuff like with just a black screen type of thing. Which, you know, it is what it is. Project management professional. Then I need to double check and see. That's what it was. I needed the Unity certified professional. That's what it was saying. Or is it the Unreal one? Is there one for Unreal? No. Unreal. Unreal Engine Associate Certification. Is it this one? Game Design Essentials? Okay, so Epic Games Game Design Professional Certificate. There's a lot of people in here. Introduction to Game Design, Unreal Engine Fundamentals, Fundamentals of Level Design with Unreal Engine, Blueprint Scripting, Visual Development and Audio Designing Games, User Interface in Game Design. When was this actually posted? Outcomes. Let's look at the outcomes. This professional certificate is intended for anyone interested in developing a strong foundational understanding of game design. Learners will get an in-depth introduction into the fundamentals of game design, Unreal Engine as a tool, level design, blueprint scripting, visual and audio development, and UX/UI design. Each course comes with hands-on learning through practice and the projects that build on one another in preparation for the final capstone project. Learners who complete this certificate receive a balance between theory, practice relating to game design using Unreal Engine. The certificate gives learners the opportunity to practice their skills in Unreal Engine through hands-on assessments, graded and ungraded quizzes, and one final project in the final course. Taught by industry professionals working in the games industry, the skills that a learner will gain from these projects are wide-ranging from project management and planning to introductory world building, audio effects, level design, blueprint scripting, UX, UI, and prototyping. certificate includes 10 plus practice assignments, quizzes and hands-on learning, 8 graded assignments, quizzes and hands-on learning, and 8 hands-on projects. The final project combines all of the courses. The learner will create a delivery game. The overall theme and genre of the game can be personalized. The learner will also choose the perspective and art style used for the prototype. The final project builds off the projects from courses 5 and 6 and uses skills and toolkits from courses 1 through 4. And then there was another one as well. Unity Certified Associate, I think. No, that's the Adobe one. Oh. Unity Certified Associate. Okay, for aspiring game developers. This certification is designed for future game developers who want to showcase their mastery of core Unity skills and concepts to obtain their first professional Unity role. Successful exam takers have a background in a computer science or are self-taught Unity hobbyists who have a solid grasp of the skills required to become a Unity game developer. Prerequisites: can build complex games using C# and Unity, have previously built a game for publication, possesses a solid understanding of end-to-end game production, confident iterating with prototypes, debugging, and solving programming challenges. Unity Certified Associate Game Development courseware. This may be something that I'll have to do a little bit later, because what I'm looking at here, like, it does seem like it costs game development courseware, certified associate, game developer, artist, programmer. Helps a test taker prepare for the Unity Certified Associate Certification exam. It is valid for 12 months from the date of registration. Standard. With standard delivery, you will receive 2 emails after you purchase. The first email will be an order confirmation. The second will include your courseware access and key instructions. Make sure to check your spam and junk folders. Note access to keys are valid for 12 months from the date of purchase. With inventory management, you will be given access to your courseware and a product management system. Okay, so this one is going to actually be... I don't think I'm actually going to do either of these yet, but I want to bookmark both of them because these are both things that I want to... Well, actually, let me open up this document. I think I'll build in the Unity Certified Associate Game Development courseware one. I'll build this to be on the second kind of stint here. Odysseus waiting, waiting, waiting up. Complete the Jira Essential certification. So how do we want to structure this then? So maybe months 2 through 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Because how long is that Google one that I'm going to be going through? Well, first let me bookmark this, I guess. Bookmark this tab under, and let me choose another folder. New folder. Let's mark this as Unity. Okay, so we have that bookmarked. For every comrade, every one of my friends. Now let's go back to my learning because I'm pretty sure I have a Google one in here as well. Yeah, the Google Project Management one. So that's going to go second for sure. 600 men. Months 2 through... I think we could do 5. Because this is a long one, but like how long is this actually? Let me click on this project. 7 courses. What is that? So need to see how much this actually is. It is 6 hours, 38 hours, 20 hours, 26 hours, 23 hours, 15 hours, 13 hours. So 141 hours. Divide that over the course of, let's say, 4 months. So 16 weeks. I feel like that's completely reasonable. Like, about 9 hours a week. On top of the other stuff that I plan on doing and reading and shit. I think I can make that work. Yeah, so I think I'm going to set this to months 2 through 5. Then we can set this to 6 through 7. Two, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 6, 7. No, I actually want to set that to 6 through 8 still. And then maybe I set... Maybe I do this as set 9 through 10 or maybe 11. And then I do this as the Unity certified associate. Work through the game development, work through Unity's search program to display technical competencies. Okay. I imagine this will probably be enough. Okay, so we're doing the Jira one first, and then we're doing Google Project Management 1. Maybe I could do more than that, but I feel like that is a reasonable... No, I. I think that's probably gonna be good for now. I'll work on some more of this stuff a little bit later as when I'm like actually, well, I need to get myself some food. So I am going to wrap it up there. But I will be doing more reading soon. But I'm thinking 10 hours a week plus like the game jam stuff that I'm going to be doing on a monthly basis. I think that'll be enough to kind of occupy my spare time for the most part. Because if I'm doing 9 hours a week on that, plus another 5 hours a week or so on game jam stuff, and then there was some other stuff that my instructor had said he recommended that I work on for about 5 hours a week. That puts me at like 20 hours a week beyond what I'm doing for work right now, putting me at like 50 hours a week between work and the extracurriculars that I'm going to be working on. I feel like that's a reasonable amount of time to be able to consistently put out. That is going to wrap it for us for today then. I'll be live again tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit shorter of a stream than I intended, than I originally anticipated. My boss is asking me to come into work a little bit early, so I appreciate it, Vem. You have yourself a good rest of your day. Hope to see you again sometime soon. We'll get some more reading done tomorrow morning. So yeah, tomorrow 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then I don't believe that I have in Discord my other, what did I put for my other actual? Yeah, I will be live again tomorrow as well at 5 p.m., but it's going to be a short stream. It's going to be like an hour. So, 2 shorter streams tomorrow. Keep an eye out for those. In the meantime, I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a good rest of your night. Enjoy yourselves. I will talk to y'all later.
And then we'll order down alligators.